Hello, and welcome to Office Hours with Amber. I'm Amber. This is Office Hours. Today is week 5 of June, which I never really planned for week 5. So the last bonus week we had was back around March, the 5th week of March. And that's where you got to know me a little bit better personally.
Hello.
Okay, audio's coming through. We're doing fantastic. Back in my last bonus week in March, you got to know me a lot personally. That was a whole lot of me that you got to know. If you want to go find out more information, head back there. But today, I think, is an interesting topic to get to know me more professionally as a business owner, because a lot of Office Hours with Amber is really sharpening myself as a product. Because if you think about it, my brain is the product and service of my business. And so the last 6 months you've been watching me, thank you, Harry. The last 6 months you've been watching me develop my product live. And I've been doing that very vulnerably, but most of the time, like, I'm a good problem solver, borderline excellent. And so you've seen me do that pretty halfway successfully. You know, we've been learning things. But today is a very vulnerable podcast, if you want to call it that, live stream. And I'll be solving the problem that is my business, but my business is not a problem. And I think something we need to backpedal a little bit to understand is when Peachy Profitability was created, I never wanted to be a business owner. It really was never in the cards for me. It felt like a lot of stress. It was just more of a way to monetize my brain on the side. And then now, as we're coming up on 2 years being self-employed, I'm like, okay, maybe I should not start taking it seriously, but take it more seriously and start continuously improving my business as an entity, my sales pipeline, how I interact with clients, etc., as well. It no longer is just good enough to have being good enough at problem solving, continuous improvement in Excel is no longer enough. That my work doesn't just speak on my behalf, and I wish it did. So today is a very vulnerable podcast of engineering the engineer. And I'm going to walk you through how I got to what I'm actually engineering today, which is a little silly. All of this feels a little silly, but that's okay because, it's going to be fine. I think the first step of all of this, and what I'm recognizing, is a lot of my clients are small and medium-sized business owners. And when you've already worked so hard to get your business to where it is so uncomfortable to vulnerably say, I am bad at this thing, or something is going wrong and I need external help, or something is going wrong. I need to really put the mirror back up to myself and do something about it. And so, not that I've been ignoring my problem or my gaps for 6 months. It's more of I've been focusing so hard on building a good product in my service that I've been ignoring the whole sales side of it. So we're going to get there. But I think the first step is recognizing that how was I being kind of silly with yourself of like, in what world was I going to be good at sales? I've never been a salesperson and I've never learned sales. So it's actually a little crazy that I have been thinking that I was just going to fall into being a good salesperson or being able to elevator pitch my business super well if I've never trained that muscle. So we're going back to basics. It's going to be good. But I think another point I want to make, and I've got this whole cute presentation and things that I'm going to do, but it's kind of like the little fireside chat before we get into the details. I think it's interesting I've been sitting with myself lately, and I think most of my life I've accepted that success is the expectation and anything less than a success is a failure. And also, once I have succeeded at something, there's no joy attached to it. It's purely the relief that it's over, that I did the thing, it's off my list. And I've been grappling with that a lot lately. And so the shame that's harbored because I don't feel like I'm succeeding as a business owner, because I'm not like, oh my God, profitable crazy. When profitability is in the name of your business and you don't feel like you're profitable, not profitable. It's not rocket science. I don't got overhead. You know what I mean? I'm fine. But it's more of like, in comparison to the goals that I put out for myself, I am not achieving them. So it's just weird to you have on the path to solving your problems, there's a few emotional side effects that you kind of have to grapple with before you even start with the engineering, because Peachy and profitability are two parts of the same business name. Peachy being the person, like the energy, the person that shows up to the work, and profitability is the system that drives it. And so it's the yin yang between people and technology, people and process, that really is the sauce of how businesses run and how businesses improve. And so by me ignoring the peachy part of me, like the person that's behind the computer that has to drive this thing forward, it's a detriment to my business because I haven't focused internally. So today we're just going to talk a lot about feelings, but then a lot about engineering. So it's hard to keep them both in the same conversation without muddying the waters, because there's some conversations where emotions have place and there's some where they don't. But today's just going to be a haphazard mixed bag. I think another cool thing about this moment in time is that because I am so radically accepting and publicly saying to the world that, like, I have a problem, or like, not I have a problem, but like, I'm bad at sales. And it feels good to say that, because I don't think I let myself be bad at things often. So this is such a beautiful moment in time to be able to just say, I'm bad at sales. I'm bad at describing what I do, which is hilarious because I'm the only one know what I'm fully capable of. So for me to be bad at it, how could anyone word of mouth refer me well if I don't even explain what I do well, which is hilarious because I've been doing this shit forever. So it's like, someone said a well-defined problem is half solved. And the first step in any business solving any problem is admitting that there is a problem to be solved. And I think with the small and medium-sized businesses and even big businesses is even if you think that you have your ego in check, even if you have your pride in check, there's still these moments where you need to hip check yourself and go, hey, you're not a great salesperson, Amber. And like, you're allowed to be bad at this, but if I accept that I'm bad at it, I'm one step closer to actually taking steps and accountability to fix it. So this is a really exciting time. And I'm glad that I'm having this epiphany now, almost 2 years into my business, not 10 years in. I'm going, well, nobody gets me. It's no one's fault. It's my fault that I don't explain what I do well. So I'm excited to be at fault because I can take steps to improve that fault. You know what I'm saying? So it's a nice moment to have something specifically bad that I specifically can work on, because it's tough when you are so aimless that you have no idea. But I'm going to talk about the process I got to get to this step, because some people don't actually know where their problem lives, but we'll talk about that. I think that is the extent of the prelim before I get into my cutie little slide deck. But what I'm going to show you is a little slide deck that I would take. And this is not the official deck that I would take people on, but I encourage people to, this process I'm about to show you is a framework that I use for my business, for my work, for my hobbies, for my anything. And I think it's pretty applicable. And it's also not rocket science. And you might notice that I have no makeup on, and I am this is like a bare, clean, vulnerable, completely open, wave out the laundry kind of day. So yeah, let's do it. Okay. So today we're engineering the engineer, which is okay. One other thing. It's so hilarious. And I hope everyone recognizes how hilarious this is that for being a process engineer, the lack of processes I have in my own business, that's wild. But when you think your shit doesn't stink, or you think that you can outsmart a system, or it's all on you, doesn't mean that you can't have a documented process. It doesn't mean that you can't, you know what I mean? So I digress. We're going to talk about it. Anyways, it's just, I can see how hilarious this is. But anyways, today we are talking about engineering the engineer. And so some things, before I even wanted to get started with myself, I had to really say, this is one, I have never claimed to be a good business owner. Great business owner, nothing. I'm an excellent problem solver. I know that to be true. I hope it is rocket science one day. I think it's important to address with myself. I was harboring a lot of shame and failure. I was internalizing a lot of shame and failure because I wasn't a great business owner, which was weird because I've never claimed nor wanted to claim. Like there was no part of me that's ever like openly said that I'm a great business owner, but like internally because of my, what I said earlier, like success is the expectation. And so by me not grappling that there was no expectation of success, I was like secretly accidentally shaming myself for being a bad business owner. I don't think I'm a bad business owner, but I'm definitely not, able to achieve my goals yet, but we'll get there. Anyways, so setting the level straight, I'm a great problem solver. And this problem I'm solving today is no different than any problem I would solve for a client, that I would solve for myself, that I would solve for anywhere. So it was nice to like sit with myself and go, oh, this is just a problem to solve. This is not, I'm not a bad person. It's not, it's not me saying I'm bad in any way. It's more of like, oh wait, it's just a problem to solve. And by disconnecting those two thoughts in my brain, it was able for me to be like, oh shit, like I could do anything. Like I can fix this. Whereas if I just think that I'm a bad business owner, I'm stuck. Whereas reframing, I don't know, I'm talking full of shit. But anyways, the other thing about this is the shame and failure only were growing because I was choosing to be silent about it. And I was choosing to keep my woes to myself. And so what I've recognized, and everyone talks about this, but the more I talk about it, the more I get new ideas, the more I start shaping the real problem. And so I've been talking about this amongst my friends and whoever. Banjo, enough. What are we doing? Anyways, I encourage, if you got something that's just harboring a lot of background noise in your brain, maybe you just start talking about it. Anyway, it's easy to hide our flaws as business folks because it's deemed unprofessional to be human. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. It has, in a lot of my professional life, it has felt like it is unprofessional to be human. And of course, there's the little cute, it's okay to make mistakes. And everyone says that so patronizingly. And then you get in the middle of it, and then you go, well, it's okay for you guys to make mistakes. You're human. I would accept that from you. But when it comes to self and you sit with yourself and you're like, well, it's not okay for me to make mistakes. I knew better. I should have done better. And fuck that. Literally fuck that. And so I've been sitting with myself today and I go, oh yeah, like now do I think I need to be doing sob stories every day and being boohoo, poor me? No. But I think exposing my flaws doesn't make me a bad business owner. I think it makes me a person, and we're all human. So it's nice that today I am respectfully saying fuck that to hiding a small business problem that I think a lot of people face. And I think more people need to talk about. Sales is hard. Like hitting your goals is hard. So anyways, I come vulnerably to talk about this today. My framework and how I work really settles down into three stages, which is alignment, assessment, and advancement. So I'm going to walk through this is what I'd walk through with any client is, what do you actually want to achieve? What things are in place to achieve that? And then how do we improve the thing that is driving the most gap between you and what you want to achieve? And I'm going to do the same thing for myself as well today. So vulnerably, I think a dream of mine lately is just to make $100,000 a year sustainably by only doing 30 hours a week of work. That'd be pretty fucking sick. And the only way that came out was I used to make $100K at my salary job and I'd work 40 plus hours a week. So we're just stretching a little bit. The strategy, so this breaks down into what you want to achieve, the dream, what strategies are in place right now, and how do you plan to execute that? So the strategy is we would need $100,000 in 50 weeks, which is about $2,000 a week. Pricing, so my current pricing is for a full execution job. Like if I'm like managing the project, the execution, building the tool, doing change management, the full kit and caboodle, it's $150 an hour. If I'm doing just project management, is so if someone, they have someone on site that they need to just kind of implement the project or do the, whatever implementation or continuous improvement, I'm there to offer advising as well as keep the beats and keep people on track. And then, so that's $100 an hour. And then advising is like, they have someone on staff, they have a project manager, they just need someone to kind of help tweak some Excel stuff or know if this is the right direction. Advising's $50 an hour. And then pretty straightforward. And then, so I did a little bit of math of like, okay, if I was to only do execution projects or only do project management projects, what would those hours come out to? So if I only advised 40 hours a week, I think I'd blow up because that's a lot of talking. But somewhere in between a full like 2 full execution 5-hour week projects and 1 5-hour week project management situation, we're not far off from being able to do that. However, in my execution, I lack consistency. I lack a sales pipeline. I lack a lot of things. And so today we're finding out that the dream and the strategy aren't far off, but the execution is whack. And that's where we go into assessment. So in assessment, you're looking at, the reason businesses is a thing meant to be ultimately serve people and what they want, not to perfectly optimize and squeeze every penny out of the current world that seems to act as if it's the goal. Yep. That's exactly it, Harry. So with assessing basically, if we were to look at my sales process or like look at how far away I am from having that many clients, basically you can look at people, process, technology, and routine. And I didn't do the most fantastic job here because I kind of jumped to the chase and figured out that I wanted to go into like a 5 why situation. But anyways, if it was a company that had more than one person and there was like a full process, and I think really all in all, there's problems with all of this. And so the people, so if we really dive into this specifically, oh my gosh, I don't know why this is all. Let's do a little sentence case. There's a lot of things that are kind of going on in here. So like, where do you find clients that have a budget and also a problem? There's plenty of companies that have problems, but why is this a caps lock? Sales process. Well, what sales process? So the nice thing about this, and I'm not going to harp too much on this slide, but with sales process specifically, I'm working with Sandler sales consulting, sales coaching, and I'm getting actively mentored because I've accepted that this is because I am a solopreneur and I'm kind of by myself here. And if I'm lacking a skill that is vital to the business working, I need to learn that skill. And so I knew by just watching sales videos, I knew I was going to need someone much more intelligent in that scope of work to be able to fine tune the way that I interact with clients. So I've been working with my boy Dan over at Sandler, and that's been really helpful for me to learn these tips and tricks and, be able to iterate and think of new ways. But really what we've come down to is a lot of it comes down to, I don't know how to specifically sell what I specifically do or even have people refer on my behalf. So I'm going to kind of jump to the chase here. So essentially in advancement, if you're unfamiliar with like Lean Six Sigma, plan, do, check, act, and DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, control. They're continuous improvement, scientific method kind of vibes. And so with plan, do, check, act, essentially it's like, let's plan for what we intend to do to change what the current scenario you're in is. So during plan, there's like 50 different tools you can do to really narrow in on the correct problem to solve. And a lot of the times, now this looks like obviously 3 whys. However, usually a 5 why diagram, Ishikawa, fishbone, all those things can really drive down the problem if you're not familiar with what your problem is. I, however, skipped a few steps because it's for me and it's always in my brain and I already know. So essentially, having trouble getting new leads with projects that relate to details of someone's business, its trust is extremely vital, especially if they're going to spend money on these efforts. Because a lot of small, medium businesses are either like freshly having a new set of capital, or they're very tight, or they're managing the world. And so by the time they make the choice to invest in someone to help, they are in a place where they don't like, it's very important that we build trust right away. And I think most of the time my candor, my interrelational stuff is not the issue. It's more of how do I show them the value of what I'm doing and how it can impact them. So again, how do folks grow trust in new businesses? So word of mouth referrals from trusted friends, families, and colleagues, or a fair amount of social credibility. And so that's where you see me doing a lot of the office hours Lamber, so they can get to know me plenty before they ever meet me. So if they don't like my vibes from the YouTube videos, if they don't like the vibes of the way that I communicate on here, odds are they can kind of pre-eliminate me from their process early. But the nice thing is there's plenty of social or public resources where people can kind of get to know me, and especially videos like this, important to kind of show a little peek behind the curtain. If you're a potential new client, hi, I'm Amber. It's nice to meet you. Third thing, why is word of mouth not working lately? And this is important because I think I've conjured quite a few people that are like, tell me that I'm a genius. They say, this is really awesome. I love the things you do. But that never quite translates to like new avenues. And even when I'm like going to the chamber events or if I'm talking to new people, I just see them kind of glaze over and they're like, what are you talking about? And that's fair because it's not their responsibility to know what the fuck I'm saying. It's my responsibility to communicate in a way that people understand. And that's been always a little tough. So we're going to get there. This is a long preamble to basically get you on the same mindset of where I'm at so that I don't look like I'm just hiddly-diddling around. We're going to get to work soon. Or we're just going to chit-chat. Okay. Third thing, people don't really know what I can do or what working with me looks like. And most people, I think this is also really huge. Most people don't know that the pains they live with are solvable. And so the funny thing is I work with Matt at Good Trade Depot, and there's oftentimes that you kind of have to train people to look for what real waste in a system looks like and that it can be improved. How to like I have to almost come at this from an angle of someone who doesn't have any industrial engineering experience, because I was trained to have a spidey sense to know where these wastes and systems and potential savings are. But if you don't know, you can't know. And so that is a struggle. And that's where ChatGPT and I are going to cook today. And if also when I'm talking, you guys don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to let me know. But, so the plan really gets down to these primary things is people don't know what I can do. And they also don't know they have a problem that could be solved that could save them oodles of time. So in the do section, essentially, so plan is like figuring out what's wrong. Do is what do I intend to do to fix this problem? So today I intend on creating better vocabulary and understanding of what Peachy Profitability can do and put this into practice with my sales approach. The second parts of this is basically assess the changes that I've made and the impact on leads. So do we have more? Do we have less? Do people follow up sooner? Do we, land a deal? And then act is pending nothing changes with my, when I check in with myself, redo the exercise. And that's the nice thing is at any point, the nice thing about the scientific method and PDCA and continuous improvement is that it's bound to fail or not go completely correct. And then you do it again. And then you look for a new avenue that you can kind of tweak and model and change. So anyways, for those of you that are wondering, like, Amber, what the hell are you saying to these people that they don't get? Well, that's a great question. So essentially, TL to the full DR, Peachy Profitability is a fractional industrial engineering service. That's a whole lot of words that don't mean a lot. So, and even in that is, I do a little process improvement improvement for a lot of businesses. And you might be saying, Amber, why do you call it fractional industrial engineering if nobody knows what that means? It's a great question. We're going to get there. I think I go back and forth on whether fractional is the right word to use. I think it's growing in popularity, especially with the landscape of employment in the US, especially because kind of feel this out with me. If I say I'm a part-time engineer, does that make you think that I am very well educated and professional? It kind of gives the essence of, oh, part-time, like summer help, like we don't need her full-time. We just like we got a full-time engineer that we actually want around all the time. Part-time insinuates like, it kind of gives, bleh. And then freelance, or rather, we'll get to freelance. Consultant, although yes, that is something I do, has such a bad connotation, literally so bad. And no shade to consultants. Love y'all. But the problem is there's the big box consulting firms like the McKinseys of the world that have a stigma about them that are, we're going to pay them $500, $400 an hour to come in and tell us to cut headcount, and then they're going to leave. They're going to give us a PowerPoint and they're going to, who cares? And it's tough because consultant would be a great word, but not quite what I'm doing. And then there's also every brand of consulting under the world. So then if I just say, okay, well, I'm a supply chain project manager, then it kind of narrows the scope of what I could do. But then I have to kind of toy around with like, okay, well, I could do more than that, but then I should be narrowing in on things I'm really good at. But then I'm like, well, I don't want to just say Excel enthusiast or like Excel lady, even though that is really technically a lot of what I do. But you see where I'm going with this. Freelance also gives off the idea of like a Fiverr task. Consultant, goddess of desirable and sustainable process improvements. You know what, Harry, that's it. See it on LinkedIn later. So you can kind of get the vibe of why I've been a little strange with my words. I digress. But really what comes down to is peachy and profitability. The meaning behind the name is peachy, easygoing, approachable. That comes through my dedication to observation as well as education, as well as profitability, which is the system of the side of this, reducing waste, increasing benefit, having the right routine, right insights, and right actions at the right time to be able to move things forward. And I want to take a minute on the peachy side, because another thing that I'm trying to accomplish with Peachy Profitability is it's like not your father's consulting firm. You know what I mean? I'm here to bring the human element and the engineering of your business together, because businesses are ran by people and processes move them forward. And so that's where it really can't be one without the other, because if you don't take the time to go to their facility or have the meetings with them, walk the line of people who are actually doing these tasks or running, working the the line or communicating your goals down to the front line. Like there's so many things that people impact. So I don't have a good way to like really specifically paint the picture that people are my number one priority. At the end of the day, targets are targets are targets. They can always be improved. Systems can always be improved. But the person that is interacting with all of the, like you could have the most well-written SOP, but if the person operating that task hates their job, hates how long they work, hates how they feel when they get home, the engagement is also like, I digress. I'm a vigilante for the people, getting people time back in their day, getting more money in their pockets to let them live life, I digress. Okay, I'm on a soapbox. Anyways, so my services, like we have administrative automation and data and financial analysis, and we've got exploratory research, like all these things I could do. But even on my website, I've got this little part that says like, I'm a Swiss Army knife and I'm sharpened to do a lot of things. which makes it's tough to kind of communicate what I can do without, it's hard. That's the whole point of today's topic. Anyways, with all of this, it's a lot of words that don't mean anything to anyone except for other people like me. So other people that are like me don't need my services. So the goal of today is to do something about it. Vocabulary for people I sell that need. That's the other thing is I'm so particular about words that I am not quick to use the word need, because I am, and I think Dan said this really well, I am an intangible service that nobody knows that they could really benefit from. And that makes it tough, because I also similarly, the reason why it's taken me so long to have this little exercise with myself and with Peachy Profitability is because I'm a fantastic support role. I will take your business anywhere you want it to go. But when it came to taking the time to really invest in my own business, it took a lot of time to just sit down with myself and go, Amber, you deserve to invest the time. Okay, we've got Peachy. So from Harry, we've got Peachy Profitability, arrow, pragmatic people plus process improvements for profit. P. You know what? You are it's all landing. Vocabulary for people that could deeply benefit from my help. Not my help, my services, because I'm a business, which is so silly. Oops. Okay, so this is the crux of what we are working on today. And really, before I even head to ChatGPT, I want to mark off like a few things, because the easiest way I can kind of describe things right now is one more plus partnership. Absolutely. Oop. Ooh, 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 ooh. So I like to give people alarm bells. So for instance, if you're at your house and your toilet stops working, you'd call a plumber. If you're at your house and a light switch or the AC isn't working, you'd call, say it with me now, an electrician. If your taxes are a little fucked up, call an accountant or call a tax specialist. I like to find alarm bells that would lean or encourage people to come my way. And some of those alarm bells are things like, if you are saying the words like, if I only had time to blank, if I only had money to blank. I could probably share my screen again. I need to build out like meeting my clients in their vocabulary, because my vocabulary my vocabulary is not landing. Because if I say warehouse optimization, people go, what the fuck? But if I say running out of space, vibes. You know what I mean? So instead of my bullshit vocabulary, I need to meet people in their vocabulary. So I digress. So I put it into ChatGPT and I said, hey, I got some problems. And the goal is a referral kit. Okay. Ooh, I like that. We're just gonna cook with ChatGPT for a little bit. And I know ChatGPT is the devil, and I know that it's the environment's dying, and I know there's a lot of things that are wrong with it. I unfortunately am the worst, and that's okay. Oop. Oh man, we got a lot of stuff going on here. No, I would not like that. The other thing about by building a way for people to like quote unquote refer on my behalf, which is not my ultimate goal. It would be nice if like my online presence just like carried me over the finish line and I didn't have to bug any of my friends to say anything to someone, to someone, to someone. But I also know that by me trying to just do it by myself and not bug and irritate my friends to be like, hey, if you could like send out ask a few businesses, that'd be really nice. Like, it's not in the early days, it's not like shameful to ask for help. And all in all, it's not shameful to ask for help anytime, but we're healing that part because I've been such a fiercely independent person for so long. It's tough. ASMR. Can you hear that? Yeah. Anyways, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna do this. Whenever I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by like info, I like to ask ChatGPT to ask me questions to help it come up with a good plan. Can you ask me 3 to 5 questions that would help you make the referral kit? I guess I could make this screen bigger. I want to meet my customers in the vocabulary they use. That's the other part is like an ideal customer profile, like ICP, is so broad. And I think because I'm early enough in my business ship, it's tough because, and this is silly to say right now, and I'm going to recognize how backwards this is, but and you know what? This is a scarcity thought. That is why it feels so bad, because I live in such a state of abundance that when these little scarcity thoughts wiggle in, oh, I'm glad we caught that, guys. That was a good moment. I'm speaking in tongues. I'm so sorry. Because I am so nervous that there are no clients out there that are possibly ever going to want to work with me, which is false. That's like a false statement. Because I live in that mindset of scarcity, I feel like if I throw too narrow of a net of the ideal client profiles that I'm trying to attract, that it's actually working against me, because the more intentional I am about the customer I'm trying to recruit or attract, the better odds I have to catch it. Essentially, TLDR, there's a microphone down here. You must chase one chicken at a time if you intend to catch it. I have to relearn that lesson every single fucking day of my life. I'm going to say it again. You must chase one chicken at a time if you intend to catch it. You must attract one ideal client profile at a time if you intend for it to land. Because all of the messaging I put out into the internet is really just like hope marketing of, I hope they see who I am and kind of get the vibes, which is silly. But anyways, I digress. Okay. When your ideal client vents to a friend or colleague, what do they say? Oh my gosh, perfect question. It knew. These are kind of those alarm bell statements, like, the another good way to I've been trying to like idea or I've been trying to like relationally relate it is, especially with Good Trade Depot, is like, when you were growing up and you had a growth spurt and your shirts don't fit the right way or your pants don't fit the right way, or you're just like kind of outgrowing your shirt, but you're not far enough, like it's not uncomfortable enough that you like need a new shirt completely yet. That is exactly at the moment where my business makes sense. Is you're outgrowing your processes and they're working just fine, but like they're not going to work forever, so you're like looking into software and you're looking here, you're looking there, and you're like, oh, it just doesn't quite fit anymore. And it's how to describe. Yeah. And I don't know how to articulate that feeling in words that you can listen for. You know what I mean? We're going to get there. I'm going to tell ChatGPT. My warehouse is always full, you mentioned earlier. Yes. Yes. I do help grow a warehouse, and right now it's not completely full, which is nice. But it is something scaling. Scaling as in like the business is growing. Or are you just throwing words that people might use? What are we saying? Are you asking a real question? Sorry. My work is so clunky. Boo. I kind of feel like bar rescue and a business therapist, because half of the time I think there's not often, I think it was really nice. Matt, Kaylin, and I at the warehouse today were talking about our relationship with joy and our relationship with success, and success feeling like a expectation, not a accomplishment, and like how it feels like, because I've been bracing for impact for so long, it's just so tiring. And so we were talking today, and it was nice that like, although they don't know the ins and outs of how Peachy Profitability works, it's nice that you can just vent it out to get it somewhere. And so similarly, I think a lot of the times people just want someone to talk to about business woes with someone who understands business woes. And so that's where I'm kind of like bar rescue, where I come in and I feel the problems and I'm able to like help shape things up and like logistically make things make more sense and administratively make things make more sense and things to go in, correct places and feel right and things to like not be redundant. And then separately, business therapist of like putting structure and managerial routine to the things that you want to accomplish, but you have no vocabulary pathway for. I digress. Scaling, professionalizing, optimizing processes. Yes. So, continuous improvement is like the process of improving processes. So it's like the methodology to systemically with numbers create smoother, more autonomous operations. Improving process to be more general and casual. So the problem is people's understanding of what is and is not a process is also very lacking. So if you think about, like, let's say when you brush your teeth in the morning, you see that as a task, but it's a process. You grab the toothbrush, you open the toothpaste, you put it on your, maybe you wet the toothbrush first, maybe you put the toothpaste on, then you wet the brush, then do you, brush for whatever duration of time, you wipe it off, you rinse it, you put it in the cup. That's a process. All processes. There are so many processes that happen in a day. And I think there's a lot of people that don't understand or don't even know that like, the word process makes it seem as if it's this big thing, but it's actually every single moment in the day you are doing a process. When I prepare for Office Hours with Amber, there's a whole system to it. Turn on the camera, I make sure audio's going, I make sure the lights are on. Also, I just got a new light. I've got a little ring light up here. So normally the camera would look like dark like this. No more, because I continuously improve my process. Remember when my computer used to be full of shit and like not work for any of these? It's a process. There are certain levers and pulleys and metrics inside of certain things that actually make the process easier or harder. And so by just saying process improvement, a lot of people will then go into defense mode and say, well, my process is fine. I'm not saying it's not. That's why my framework that I work with clients on, it starts with alignment. Is what is the actual goal that you're actually trying to prove or actually trying to fix? Because a lot of times, even in big organizations, and I'm going to be honest, Anheuser-Busch actually did a really fantastic job of target alignment. And any Anheuser-Busch people listening to this, I know you'll feel differently because sometimes they do strategic KPIs against each other. That's on purpose. If you didn't know, spoiler alert. But like from top to bottom, we always knew what the CEO's like primary targets for the year were. Like that was very well publicized. And then every person below them in that organization had a PI or a sub PI, like a KPI that directly linked to that. So for instance, if, revenue or EBITDA or share of throat or whatever was the KPI, on the forecasting team, I knew out of stocks and supply chain loss were how I impacted those. And so similarly, there's some companies that don't communicate their goals more than their desk. I digress. So it's tough. It's tough. I think I just went on a rant for nothing, but I digress. Okay. I think those are some good examples. Number 2, what are 2 to 3 problems your clients are surprised you can solve? Honestly, they're normally surprised at how good at Excel I am. Data administrative automation. Honestly, let's get real. I've been saying this since 2018. Copy and paste is beneath us. If you can externally data connect, you shall, and you must. But that's the quickest way I think that's the quickest way I can like change someone's life is a good API connection or a good database connection. Back to the monitor. I'm stalling. Time savings, making reports clean, organized, and structured. Three. When a project wraps, what do happy clients say was the best part of working with you? Vibes. Should probably put that more into like I don't think I ever asked for very specific feedback in the way of like, hey, like what were you stoked about? I think at the end they're like stoked that they have a working tool, but it's never like a wow, you are blank. Smoothing systems. Hell yeah. I feel like I shouldn't even answer this one because What do your best fit clients already believe about their business or the world? We can't scale with spreadsheets and hope. Good people are stuck doing broken work. I think there is a especially the folks. Oh, the other thing is I've always done it this way is a huge red flag, which is like IE 101 is like as soon as someone says it's always been done this way is like the easiest way to know, oh, they haven't dusted that process off in a while. There's probably now there are some things that really should just stay put the way that they've always been done. Few and far between. So that's like usually a red flag. But the other thing is, especially even when I was at Anheuser-Busch, when I was in there, it's like they brainwashed all of us to think that our skills were average and like things we were doing were like, well, of course everyone knows that. How you can't possibly get another job somewhere else and like nobody's ever going to pay you as good as we do, or nobody like there was a mixture of one, we were the most complex supply chain system that SAP had ever seen, and then secondarily it was a mixture of we were like battle tested and like really good at what we did, but they also, because of that ego that was made, it also made us feel like, oh well, nobody else could possibly understand what's going on in here. But they also did a good job of like process documentation, so like they could replace you in a fucking heartbeat. Which is nice because I learned that everything is automated. It like is, you decreasing the tribal knowledge it takes to like decreasing the learning curve on any position is like infinitely useful, because then you're not like trapped, which I basically live a life trying to decrease the amount of trappedness I feel. But at Anheuser-Busch, I fully believed that I was on a data island. I was at the top of the Excel game. I could never be like, no one would understand what I'm doing, or like, I can't find help anywhere. Like, I fully believe that like, I'll never be able to find help. Ipso facto, we've got the Excel community that has just schooled my ass, which is great because I really, for a while, felt like I was alone. And so I think that's a big point that I could probably lean into. Ew. Imagine your favorite client texting their friend about you. What would they say? I'll pretend I'm Matt. You need Amber. She's an absolute data wizard. She's kind of an asshole. Just kidding. Extremely detailed, organized, and can help make user tools to decrease the amount of work your brain has to do so you can go do other things with that energy. Bongo. We're just gonna put that in and see what happens. Okay. Fractional ops and data wizard. You need Amber. Oh, well, I don't. She'll clean up your process, simplify your tools, and help your team stop wasting time on clunky, broken work. People are saying things like my Excel keeps crashing, my data's a mess, work is so clunky lately, nothing fits anymore. I wish I had time to fix this, money to reinvest there. Don't even know if this process makes sense anymore. I feel like no one could come in and understand what I do. What Amber does: fixes messy and broken spreadsheets so they run smoother and smarter. Absolutely. Builds admin automations and tools, saves hours. Absolutely. Organizes and cleans reports. They actually tell you something. Ooh, love that. Designs processes and rules so work flows better. Yes. Coaches teams in continuous improvement. Yes. It's way more approachable than they thought. Yes. Makes everything feel simpler. You have your breathing room again. Nice. Who she's best for? People running ops with zero time to fix what's broken. Hell yeah. Teams that are buried with manual error prone work. Fuck yeah. Folks who feel like they're on a data island. Absolutely. Anyone scaling fast with lack of structure or clean tools. Cool. Okay. Cool vibes. Beep. All right. Well. Bongo. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Okay. Let's clean this up. Okay. I'll clean that up later. Pretty cool. I think toolkit's one word. None of my business. A lot of this needs some more sharpening, but for now, this is at least one step closer than I was this morning, because I still was feeling very dumb not dumb, just underprepared this morning. Decrease this a little bit more. Now there's the whole aspect of finding where do these clients that would actually benefit from me and have the budget for me live? How do I interact with them? What's the best method? But in the meantime, at least I can weaponize my, not weaponize. Equip my friends with, here's what I got going on. Yeah. How interesting. Another thing is, okay, so let's say you watch this whole video, which first and foremost, thank you for being here. Harry, Ashley, love you guys so much. Always very nice to see you. How I've been doing it with the easiest way to show people what I do is to have conversations. So what I do and what I offer is, let's say you have someone that you're like, Amber might be helpful if you want to connect me with them. The process that I follow from this moment is essentially I would get on an email with them or call them, and then I'd organize a day to do a diagnostics, basically like a free diagnostics day. So I come in, I listen to kind of find alignment, feel what their goals are and how far away from them they are. And during that diagnostic day, I kind of take notes on people, process, technology, and routine. And I identify those gaps. At the end of that day, and then at the end of the free diagnostic day, I'll give them a kind of prioritized list of what in each of those categories is driving the furthest gap between you and your goal, as well as, time to do versus cost to implement, all ranked for you. So at the end of the day, you get a plan. And if you implement it, fantastic. And then if you need help implementing it, here I am. But that's the easiest way to kind of put me out there. I love the tension between frictionless and fractional with wordsmithing perspective. Can't stop thinking about that since Harry made the frictionless comment. Yes. And the nice thing is, Ashley, you are also a wizard with words. It was on our Power Apps month. You were saying, ooh, that's good. Frictionless workflows, fractional delivery. Okay. But Ashley said something really impactful that I've continued to use day in and day out since the Power Apps month is decreasing the cognitive load to get more things done. And you're talking about it in Power Apps, but I've been talking about it everywhere, because what prevents us and where procrastination breeds is because there is so much cognitive load to get something in. And so oftentimes cognitive load or like that can also be determined as, you feel it like friction, like clunky friction, blah, And so since then I have been looking at every avenue of my life and every process that I interact with. And I go, if I'm ever perceiving procrastination, or if I'm like putting something off, I look at it with the lens of what is taking the most brain power to accomplish here. How do I, and that looks like, like breaking it down into smaller steps or whatever. And so that's where ChatGPT has been really helpful to be able to break things down or like explain things. But once I recognize that 99% of my procrastination comes from the like mental load required, made it easier. The really TLDR of the whole thing is a well-defined problem is half solved. That's it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to head to the after hours chit chat chamber in Discord, but nice seeing you guys. And we will be moving on to learning Python and Excel next month. Yeah. Anyways.